Hey everyone, this is Kyle from firealarmsonline.com, and we also run a NICET group for Facebook called Fire Alarms Online for NICET. I just wanted to do a quick video on the power of Bluebeam. I've been asked a lot recently to help do some instruction and training for companies and individuals on how Bluebeam can benefit you in the world of doing takeoffs and estimating. With that being said, I got this video here that's just going to be a quick 30,000 foot view of some of the main important areas that Bluebeam excels in. Before we get started, just know that Bluebeam is basically a glorified PDF editor, much like Adobe or Foxit. It just has a lot more useful tools in terms of doing takeoffs and counts and scaling documents. So with that being said, real quick, if you have Bluebeam and have opened it and not really played with it, it's going to look somewhat like this in terms of the profile setup that it's going to have. You got some tools over here on the left, a toolbar on the right, and a minimalistic approach up here at the top. So when I first got Bluebeam a couple years back, I didn't have any formal training. I kind of just went on the internet, poked and prodded, and figured things out for myself and learned how to create my own profile that basically streamlined the whole approach to doing a takeoff. It kind of just keeps what you need and trims the fat off of what you really don't. So with that being said, if you go up here to Review, and you click on that, you bring down the menu to profiles, you'll see there's 4 profiles that are already set up in Review that are factory defaulted. So you've got Review, Review Advanced, Quantity Takeoff, and Field Issues. This additional one down here, Kyle's setup, is one that I have imported myself. You can go to Manage Profiles, you can import profiles, you can save ones you've created, back them up, whatever you want to do. So I've imported Kyle's setup. And if I click on that, you'll see this entire view will change. It'll open up the menus and options in the setup that I have tailored towards what I feel is necessary in relation to doing takeoffs and estimates. I apologize in advance. My computer is running a little choppy with the video recording software and Bluebeam open at the same time, but hopefully it won't be too much of an issue. Okay, so now you can see that I've got my profile open. The biggest thing that stands out right off the bat is all of my toolkits here, my tool chest, they call it. These are all my symbols and templates that I've created for doing my takeoffs. Up here at the top, you will notice I just kind of have what I believe are important. You can insert hyperlinks, flatten your document. This is where you open, close, save, and print everything. Pretty standard. Add your attachments. There's a camera feature built into it. You can erase content, highlighters, pens. If you have a stylus like on a Surface Pro, you can draw directly on the document. This is a cloud of callouts, cloud by itself, callout by itself. Stamps, you can insert images, and this right here you can screen capture, so you can highlight a specific area, Control-C for copy, and you can paste that into emails or whatever else you want to a different sheet on the drawings. Lines, arrows, arcs, polygons, or polylines, squares, ellipses, polygons, and then I put these 2 icons here for rotating. I got kind of tired of going into Adobe and having to right click and select if I wanted to rotate counterclockwise or clockwise and what degree I wanted to change it to. So these will just give you counterclockwise and clockwise 90 degrees at a time. So you can see it's pretty quick to just rotate your drawing if need be right there with those buttons. And the reuse tool right here is nice. It pretty much goes without saying. If you have that turned on, when you select any of these icons here, you can place multiple items down here without having to go back and keep selecting them from your tool chest over here. So that's a pretty useful tool to keep turned on at all times. Down here, this second row it's nice to have here, but most of it you can capture with just doing stuff here with the tool kit on the left over here and everything else we're going to be going through. But just so you know, these are your measurement tools: length, polylines, polygons, areas, radius, diameter, angles. And over here is all your text. So you can do underlining text, you can add text box, you can use what they call like a typewriter function and just do typing right over the document. So that's everything in a quick glance up here that I've found to be useful. Over here on the left-hand side, you've got the main toolbar. So you've got the thumbnail view. We're only working with the PDF document that has one page right now. So as you can imagine, if we had multiple sheets, they would show up here in this pane over here. The nice thing about this is if you do have multiple sheets, you can drag and drop them into any order you want. You can right click on them. You can rotate them, renumber them. You can give them a new label, export them. You can delete them. You can insert additional documents or PDFs from other files into here, or other open files you have. So this is a very nice pane to kind of play around in if you are looking for a quick and efficient way to edit a PDF. It could be markups, specifications, a proposal, or any other PDF document that you want to alter quickly. So we'll move down to bookmarks. This is a good item to play around in. As you can tell, the file I have right now does not have any pre-set up bookmarks, so I'm going to go ahead and open up my NFPA 72 standard here, and you'll see that NFPA already has a ton of preset bookmarks for all their chapters. And then there's if you go into chapter 7, for example, there's additional bookmarks for different sub chapters and all that. The nice thing about bookmarks is you can go up here and you can add a bookmark to any page you want. So in a document like NFPA 72, as you can imagine, there's a lot of stuff going on here. Maybe there's certain sections that you want to revisit quite frequently and you don't want to keep looking it up every time or trying to remember that section. You can find them one time and then go in and add your bookmarks to that specific page, and it'll show up here in this tree over here. So you can see I've got, smoke 60 inches above FACU referenced here. So you can click on this right away and it'll bring you directly to that page within the document. So bookmarks can prove to be a very valuable tool if used correctly, or if you're just looking for a faster way to jump to a section of a document or a set of plans. Next on the list here is the tool chest. You kind of saw this earlier. I'm not going to spend too much time here yet, but this is basically different sections for different scopes that I have symbols and templates and scaled templates and markups for our drawings. So you got smoke control, intrusion, CCTV, access control, structured cabling, DAS, fire alarm measurements, ceiling strobe coverage, wall strobe coverage, elevator landing, two-way comm systems, and fire alarm. Another important thing to note here is if you hover over any of the symbols in the fire alarm section, you're going to see the layer is titled fire alarm with that pop-up right there. If I go down to the two-way, if I hover over something, it's AOR two-way. And real quick, one more example. If I go down to cameras, for example, it's going to be on layer CCTV. The reason I'm telling you that is if you are working in a drawing, I'll just zoom in real quick right here and put a camera down. And I will put, let's see, pole station, and let's go with the phone for two-way. Again, sorry for the glitchy computer. So now we have 3 different scopes on this drawing. We've got cameras on layer CCTV, we've got fire alarm on layer fire alarm, and two-way on the AOR two-way layer. The reason I wanted to show you this is if you have a markup with a lot of stuff all over it and you want to send that markup to your engineering manager or maybe an end user or one of your project managers for installation, and you don't want to show them all the scopes, maybe you just want to show fire alarm only, I've got all these set up so that you can go to layers here, and this will automatically show you any of the applicable layers that are active on your sheet. And you can turn them off. So like I said, if you want to just have fire alarm only, you can turn off CCTV and you can turn off AOR two-way. And as you can see on the drawing, all you see now is fire alarm. So this is kind of a quick small example, but you can imagine when you have a huge set of drawings with 5 scopes on it, this can really clean things up quickly. And the nice thing is you don't have to go back and delete all of those devices that you don't want to show anymore and save a separate document. You can just turn on and off layers as needed. Signatures, pretty self-explanatory, just like any other PDF creator, DocuSign, anything like that. You can create digital signatures there. Measurements, this is probably the most important item in Bluebeam. This is what sets it apart. You can set the scale of your drawing. And I'm assuming if you're watching this video, you know what scaling of drawings is. If your drawing is not scaled, it really doesn't do you any good to try to measure out any distances or anything else. I'll quickly show you how to scale a drawing in this menu right here. As you're aware, most of the time, your drawing will give you the scale reference at the bottom. This particular drawing is set at 1/16 of an inch equals 1 foot. Now, Bluebeam has preset scales right here. If you click on preset and drop this menu down right here, you'll see, like I said, Bluebeam has a pretty solid amount of the standard scales that you're going to find on drawings in our industry. So we'll find the 1/16 of an inch equals 1 foot here. We'll make sure it's checked and we are good to go. If you have additional pages in your drawing, again, as you can see down here, we only have 1 page in this drawing. But let's say you've got a 20-page set of drawings, and out of those 20 pages, 6 of them are floor plans you need to scale. Then you would set your scale here, your preset 1/16 equals 1 foot, select add scale to more pages. This will bring up another menu that you can select a drop down here, and you can set the scale for all pages of your set, which in the example case I'm talking about, you'd have 20 pages. Or you can use the current page you're working in, or you can set a custom range. So out of those 20 pages, for example, you could set pages 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10 that you want this scale applicable to. So whatever you need to do there, go ahead and select that. When you're done, hit apply scale. You will know your scale is set when you look down here at the bottom and you see the scale determinator right here. 1/16 of an inch equals 1 foot. And it also tells you what size page of paper you're working in. Now, that's the easiest way to do it. Sometimes drawings do not have the scale referenced on them. It's not very often, but sometimes you might get a somewhat scaled hand drawing or something that someone's handed you and says, hey, can you do a takeoff or a markup on this? And you don't have a reference for scale. In those cases, I tell everyone to look through the drawings and see if you have any kind of dimensional references somewhere on the sheet. Sometimes you'll have a dimensional reference telling you what the width of this storage closet is, or maybe the length of a corridor, or the width of this room right here. If you don't have that, which we do not in this drawing, what I tell everyone to do is zoom in to a doorway. And let's find one that doesn't have such a thick... Yeah, they kind of all do. Okay, so we'll zoom into a doorway right here. And we know that doorways are typically 3 feet wide. It's pretty obvious when they're not a 3-foot door. In this example, all these doors appear to me to be the standard 3-foot width doors. So zoom into a door, and over here, instead of clicking on preset, click on custom. After you've clicked on custom, select calibrate. And once you've done that, over here on your drawing, you should get the crosshairs. From here, select 2 points of reference to measure across. So we're going to measure across the width of this door. So I'm going to select right here. If you hold shift, if you notice in Bluebeam, as you go across, it's kind of hard to keep a straight line, right? But if you hold shift in Bluebeam, it automatically locks your lines in horizontally, vertically, and at a 45-degree angle. So it makes it really easy to just drag across and get a perfectly straight line. So like I stated, we're holding shift. We clicked on one side of the door frame. We're going to click on the other. And once you do that, it's going to bring up another menu. Now, instead of saying 1/16 of an inch equals 1 foot, it's telling us basically on what we measured, it's 0.178189 inches equals what? Now we know what we measured across should be 3 feet in real life for the door. So we'll go ahead and set that to 3 feet. Again, this top bar, like we just talked about with the preset measurements, is the same thing. You can set this scale for the current page you're working in, every page in the set, or a custom range. So once we've set our custom range to 3 feet, we just hit apply scale. And you'll notice down here at the bottom, it changed from 1/16 of an inch equals 1 foot to the custom scale we just set, which is 0.17819 inches equals 3 feet. To check this measurement, we can stay in the measurement tool here, and we can select, we can select the length measurement. So just like up here I talked about earlier, you have all the same measurement options up here. You can measure angles, diameters, radiuses, polylines, but for this example, we're trying to confirm our measurement of 3 feet for the door, so we can go to a length measurement. Same thing, once you click that, you will see the crosshairs with a tape measure pop up on your screen, and you can select the 2 points that you used. And again, this might not be exactly perfect because we don't have anything snapping right now to perfect grid lines, but you can see it's pretty close. 2 feet, 11 3/4 inches on that door based on the custom scale that we set up with this calibration tool right here. So that is the alternative way to set your scale if you don't have a predetermined scale set up on your drawings. Now, why is scale important? Like we talked about earlier, scale is important in order to use, I'm going to backtrack a little bit here, in order to use these templates that I have created, your wall strobe templates, your ceiling strobe templates, your smoke detector, heat detector, dB loss, and these distance templates. If your drawing is not scaled, then these are useless. They are not going to really represent a real life scenario of what the coverage area is. I also have down here at the bottom, which is really useful, I have some polyline scaled measurements that I've set up for different types of cable and conduits. I've got SLC, NAC, speaker, power, data, and conduit. Now, once your drawing is scaled, you can, I'll show you real quick. Once you click on like conduit, for example, you can click, 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 keep clicking all throughout your entire run. And when you hit enter, you have a color-coded line here that is going to represent conduit. Now, if you need to know how long that run is because your drawing is scaled, you can always come down here to the markup tool, bring this up, and you will see the length measurement here. Drop it down. Actually, I'm sorry, that's for our 3 foot door. See the conduit run here. Drop it down. We have one conduit run on the page, and it's a total of 156 feet, 4 3/4 inches. So just like that, with the drawing being scaled, you can select your conduit, your SLC, and make different markups or different lines and find out exactly how much cable or conduit you need to install a said circuit or whatever on a drawing. We'll come back to the markups here in a sec. I just want to show you how crucial that is to set your drawing up for scale for all of these wire measurements down here, as well as, like I set up here, we can put a smoke template down here. And you'll see now that our drawing's scaled, this is a true 21 foot radius smoke detection coverage template. When we put it down, we can drag it to where we need, and we know exactly what this will cover, what this smoke will cover. Now keep in mind, 21 foot radius for smoke detectors is more for corridors. Your typical 30 foot spacing or 15 foot radius smoke detector template you can see is quite a bit smaller than that. So we've got one template set up for corridor spacing, like for an R1 occupancy, or if you have smoke control and you need corridor detection, you would want to use the 21 foot yellow smoke template. But if you have just regular coverage for smoke detectors, in an open office area or whatever it may be, you're going to use the 30-foot standard spacing, which is this 15-foot radius blue smoke detector template. And then I've got the 25-foot radius heat detector template for 50-foot spacing. And then I've got dB loss as well for ceiling and wall. These are great if you're trying to just get a quick glimpse of how far out you can go with your notification appliances for dB loss. Again, a lot of that changes as you're going through certain walls or doors, so pay attention to that. This is just a guide, just an idea to give you maybe for open office. We do a lot of Amazons, and they require audibility throughout, so this tool right here works great for that. Let's see, as we go down over here, so we're on measurements. So search. Bluebeam has a great search tool. There's 2 items I use in it. You can either search by text, just like any other typical program you've ever worked in, like Microsoft Word or Excel. Control F will open up the search menu. You can type your text into here and select search, and all your results will pop up down here by page. You can click directly on them and it'll bring them to a highlighted area within the document here. Now, the bigger deal with search that I like in Bluebeam is you can do an image search. This doesn't work 100% of the time, but it is a great tool to have in your arsenal when you're looking for something specific. For example, if you're looking for combination smoke fire dampers on mechanical floor plans, sometimes those sheets can get kind of convoluted with all the ductwork, symbols, and everything else they've got going on. And let's say you have a schedule on those drawings that says there are 25 combination smoke fire dampers and you're only successful at finding 24 of them. In order to find that 5th one, you could select the visual search tool. You select Get Rectangle. And I know this is not a combination smoke fire damper, but I'm going to show you how easy it is. If you found a combination smoke fire damper on your drawings and you wanted to find more, you could select this, right? Draw a box around it. That'll pop up here, and then you can say search. And whatever this image is up here, Bluebeam will go through the document and search for every other item that is close to that. You can adjust the sensitivity and all these different parameters here depending on how technical you want to get with it. Like I said, it doesn't work 100% of the time, but it is a great tool to have as a backup if you're unsuccessful at finding something. I always recommend everyone to try to use this as a last result to find something on a floor plan that might be difficult to locate with your eyes. So that's a great search feature. Properties, this changes based on what you are in. So depending on if you're editing the highlighter or the callout tools or your boxes, rectangles, whatever it is, this properties menu here is going to look different and tailored towards what you're trying to edit the properties of. This is a space measurement tool. This is something that I don't use in my line of work. This would be more, in my opinion, for someone who's laying carpet, hardwood floors, painting walls, doing some kind of covering, because it measures the floor space or wall space of a given area. I don't mess with these 2 right here, but I wanted to mention this last one down here, Bluebeam Studio. If you click on this and you create an account and log in, you can share a markup with a colleague or a customer, an end user, a PM, whatever it may be. As long as they're logged in and you share the rights to them, you guys could cohesively collaborate on a drawing together. So you do all your markups and then you log out, and at a later time, maybe from their house, they could log back in and edit some additional areas of that document, put their notes on it, and then save it for you to view later. Keep in mind, you cannot delete other people's markups or notes, but you can add to it. So it's a great tool when you're learning how to use the software. You can kind of help each other, try new ideas, train, and try to accomplish different scenarios. Or once you get well-versed, it's a great tool to work with your team on, as opposed to doing a markup and emailing it back and forth and trying to reopen it and save it and kind of keep track of what's going on. Okay, so we covered everything over here. Again, for this markup, I'm going to go ahead and close NFPA 72 here. I want to note too real quick, up here at the top, if you have multiple drawings open, let's say you've got like the same set you're doing a bid on, and you've got your A sheets, your M sheets, and your E sheets, you can easily just click and drag these into any order that you want. So depending on your OCD or how you like to organize things, it's pretty nice just to drag these around up here and keep them in the order you want from left to right. So it's easier. Maybe you're working on your E sheets first and you go to your mechanical sheets and then your floor plans, or vice versa. So know that that's really easy to drag and drop those around. For the sake of this markup and quick tutorial, I wanted to use this really simplistic one-story storage facility for the design. I know this is an S occupancy. It's not going to require notification. So I want to note that, but just keep it easy for you right here. So now that we've got this drawing scaled, we are still, as you can tell down here, in our custom scale. So I'm just going to go back and set it to 1/16 of an inch so we know it's 100% accurate. So we go back to preset, 1/16 of an inch, and we are done. You can see down here at the bottom, it confirms we're at 1/16 of an inch equals 1 foot. So up here, we've got a lot of corridors, as you can tell. Now, again, I'm not going to spend too much time trying to cover every single corridor and perfect. This is not a code seminar class or anything like that. This is just trying to show you how quick you can lay stuff out in Bluebeam. And again, I apologize, it's a little glitchy because of everything I'm running on my computer right now, but once you get it running on your computer, you'll see it's very smooth and fast. So what I'm going to do here is, now that we're scaled, we can come down here to our 15-foot distance marker, because we know that strobes have to be within 15 feet of the end of a corridor. We're going to select that here. There's one thing I want to note, and this drawing is doing it, of course, for the demonstration. It doesn't happen very often, but depending on how a drawing is scaled and you're working in a scale, if you're putting down some kind of a template or any scaled item, not like a strobe or a pull station, but a scaled template or one of these distance markers, you'll see that it jumps over to the right a little bit by the same exact distance. So if I put it here, it jumped over 15 feet to here. If that happens, it's not a big deal. It's frustrating, and I'm working on a solution, but just select it and drag it back here. And then if you need to put more of these down, you can always go up here. There's at the very top, there's a recent tools area. So if you just select it from here, you can just keep popping them down with as long as you have up here the reuse tool on, you can just keep popping them down. So with that being said, we've got the 15 feet out from the end of a corridor. I know this is not a perfect example because we've got multiple corridors coming into one, but keep in mind this is not a code seminar. This is just for Bluebeam. 15 feet out, and then you know we can't go more than 100 feet between notification appliances in a corridor. So I've got another distance measurement at 100 feet. Now I bet you when I put it down here, it's going to drop over 100 feet again to the right. So I'm going to select this here. And as I thought, you can see it comes over here. Again, this is not going to happen to you 99% of the time. This is a rare case, but it does happen. So what I do typically is, you've got your 15 feet out, you've got your 100 feet here now. So then you can come back up here to your notification appliances. Here's a ceiling AV device. And we're going to put one right here at 15 feet. And we'll come down here to the end of the 100-foot marker, and we'll put one here. Okay, so you can see that, again, in a perfect scenario, I'd probably come down this corridor here and hit this crossway, this four-way path. But for the sake of getting coverage down a corridor, you can see how quick, minus the glitchiness of how 15 feet out, 100 feet between, and you can just keep repeating that process down no matter how long your corridor is. Another nice thing is, if you have multiple corridors that are the same, or if you have like a core and shell high-rise you're working on, once you've laid out an entire floor the way it needs to be, you've got all your FSDs covered, your elevator lobbies, smokes, your AV devices, water flows and tampers for the stairwells, you can select the select tool down here as opposed to the pan. And as long as you capture everything in your box here, let's go. It'll select everything there. You can hit Control C, which is for a shortcut for copy, or you can just right click and copy. And then you can come down a little bit lower, Control V for a shortcut for paste, or you can just, right click paste. And as long as everything's still selected, you can grab it and move it around. So as you can see, I can come down here. Again, I apologize how glitchy this is. Normally it's very smooth and fast. It's easier to move the mouse around and grab stuff, but since it's glitching on me so much, it's kind of hard to grab. But you can see just like that, I was able to take the markup that I had for this corridor here and copy and paste it all the way down for a typical scenario. This is not the perfect example because these corridors don't line up the way they should for what I'm doing, but it gives you an idea of if once you become well-versed and comfortable in laying out the measurements and the templates and the devices, you can copy and paste a lot of stuff, and Bluebeam will, at the end of the day, keep track of all these devices as separate quantities. Okay, so we talked about the smoke detector spacing. You can see I'll throw one down real quick. It's going to jump over to the right again, but it's the same idea. Actually, that one stayed down. Nice. Okay, so with smoke detectors, you can come over here. I'll grab from my recent tools, I have the reuse tool turned on, and we can just start popping smokes down, right? If this was an open air, if this is a corridor, because we're using the corridor spacing template. If we use the open area smokes, you can see, just pop them down, just get them lined up. And this keeps a very nice, clean approach. It lets you know that you're using the right quantity of devices when you're doing your layout, and it helps everybody in your whole team at the end of the day, right? If you sell this job and you do really good markups, this markup is going to ultimately, I would imagine, go to your engineering manager, and it's going to just make them so much more efficient and quicker in putting the design together, as opposed to you just giving them quantities and they've got to lay the thing out from scratch. So use this to your advantage, this measurement tool, to really ensure that you're using the right quantity of devices for everything. Just like the smokes and heats, we'll go to the ceiling 15 candela. I'm not going to put these on the floor plan. I'll move them up here a little bit. They're going to jump to the right. So we've got a 15 ceiling. Okay, good. They're all staying normal now. All right. We've got a 30. I changed the colors of these too, so they're kind of easier to see on a floor plan. That one jumped over. Here's a 75. And again, I don't want to spend too much time on it, but I just want to show you how these look in relation, so you can see they truly are scaled to the right size. So as you're putting these down, you have different color codes, so they pop and stand out from each other. And then you've got the description and the size that they cover written inside of them. So you can, as you can imagine with a ceiling, you can come into a floor plan and you can just pop these down on the floor plan and get a very quick, accurate representation of exactly what you need to cover that floor. As you can imagine, the wall's the same. Walls are not, I didn't take the time to do these in color for different ones. Where I'm working, the standard now is everyone's putting things in the ceiling. We don't really deal with too many wall mount notification appliances anymore due to architects wanting, special wall coverings and art and stuff like that. So we keep everything up in the ceiling, but I still have them there if you need them. So once we have all the devices down, I'm just going to put a couple more devices here just to show you an example of what we can do here. So we'll put a fire control panel. Again, these are not on the floor plan where they need to be. This is just for an example. Maybe you've got a smoke detector above your panel. You've got a pull station next to it. You've got your document box. I really wish this wasn't so glitchy. And you got your GSM cellular communicator. And you've got, let's see, a dual module with a water flow and tamper. And I don't know, a CO detector here. We've already got a couple notification appliances shown on the floor. The reason I wanted to show you that is once you get your whole floor plan created and it's all marked up the way you want, looking beautiful, clean, and accurate, you can go to each and every one of these separate areas that you used symbols from. So for fire alarm, we're going to click on the gear. We're going to create a legend, create new legend here. And you just plop this down the drawings wherever you want and give it a second. It's running slow. There you go. You can, put this wherever you want on the drawing, and this gives you a itemized count, symbol list of everything on this floor plan. So we've got 6 horn strobes, a communicator, and 1 of everything else that we plopped down. Now, one thing I want to note to you is if you do have multiple sheets in your set right here that you're working on, and you do a takeoff on every floor, this symbol list takeoff is only going to count what's on this page. So if you've got 5 floors that are typical, you would have to multiply this times 5 in theory. I know the panel stuff you wouldn't do, but in theory. So keep that in mind when you're doing this. This is something nice to put as an itemized list on every page for maybe the electrical contractor that's running the pipe for you, or your design team or your PM, so he kind of knows what he can do for his schedule of values or whatever he's going to do to gear up for each floor. There is a way in Bluebeam to do a total count of every floor and every sheet together, and I'm going to show you that next. But I wanted to make sure you guys understand that this is not for the entire document. This is just for this sheet. If you have other scopes that you're putting on here, like let's say we have a couple fireman's phone, or not fireman's phone jacks, but elevator landing two-way comm systems, the call stations here on your floor plan, you notice they did not show up in here because they are under a separate tool chest. Now you have a choice right here. You can either come down to Legend and create a new symbol legend for these, which has its own title, which is kind of nice because it keeps them separated. So you've got your fire alarm, you've got your two-way, and you can do the same thing for structured cabling, cameras, access control. Or, depending on how you like to organize stuff, you can come to Legend and you can add that legend into the existing fire alarm symbols legend. By doing that, it takes it out of here and adds it up into here. So now you have the 5 call stations up here. So that is that just depends on how you like to organize it, right? I like them itemized separately because I can pull them in and out. And if I turn my layers on and off, it still keeps each scope separate out for me and everyone in my team. I just think it's a cleaner way to do it. I did tell you, so the next thing that I want to talk about is how we accomplish getting our counts for the entire markup. Again, I want to stress, if we had a 5-page document that we're doing all these markups on, what you're going to want to do is come down here to the markup section. Click on that. Now, the first time you ever open this, I got a little confused with this too, that's why I'm going to bring it up, is when you first open this, it's probably going to look like this. And you're going to say, hey, I was watching this video and this guy pulled up this markup tool and it had all this great information, but I don't see that. And that's what I thought the first time I saw it. I was like, I don't have that. Maybe it's an additional feature you have to turn on. It's something as simple as highlighting, hovering over this line until you get the blue highlighted line here, click and drag it all the way up. Now, wherever you leave this, it's going to stay like that the next time you open it. So if I close down markups and then I open markups again here, hold on. Again, my computer's glitching and I hovered over something else. So give me a sec. Okay, so if you hover over markups again and you click on it, this is going to be the same height as we just edited last time. So depending on how many devices you have in your markup, you might need to bring it up higher, or maybe sometimes you want it lower so you can still see some of your drawing up here while you're working in it. Now that we have this open, I always hit this plus button next to subject, and what that does, hit it until it basically breaks down everything into an itemized list without the details that come before it. So if you click on an arrow here, it's going to drop down and show you all of them on the page, right? But for the sake of doing our takeoff and putting our estimate together, I only care about quantities right now. And this is telling me that I have 5 two-way call stations, 1 camera. I have all this stuff on my drawings right here, right? And again, it's cut off at the bottom. So if I wanted to, I could drag this up higher and see everything. So this is really nice. You can have this open on one screen and have your Excel sheet or whatever your estimating software is open on another sheet or another screen. And you could just take your quantities directly off of this and feel with confidence that this is capturing every single device across all 5 pages or whatever it may be of your entire markup. This is not a per page thing. This is the exact quantities of everything you have for your whole markup. So this is where you're going to go to input your device types and quantities into your estimator or whatever it is you're using to put your bids together. And again, if you have a question of where something is, you could always drop it down here and you can select it here. And by doing that, what it does is it highlights it on the drawing. So that's why I said sometimes it's nice to have maybe a little bit of a pane open here so you can see. But if I wanted to find my camera right here, I could select my camera and it is going to highlight my camera on the drawing so I can go right to it. So this is nice when you have a big markup with, 500-600 smoke detectors on it and you want to find out, where each one of them is. You can select them and just go down the list by hitting the down arrow on your keyboard and looking at each one as it pings them across your floor plan. Okay, so I hope that helps you guys with the actual markup part of it. That's the key. So what it boils down to is basically having a really good solid set of symbols here and then setting your scale on your drawing for accurate counts and then using that in conjunction with the markup tool at the bottom left to get all your quantities put together. Now, another thing I do for my customers or electrical contractors that are running conduit for me is if I do my markups like this and I provide an itemized list per page, I have created they're called stamps, and Bluebeam comes with a couple of them that are already installed, pre-installed on here for, approved, date, draft, released, all this stuff, kind of some standard basic stuff. But I created my own tool or stamp, I should say, that's specific to what I wanted. And you could do the same thing. You can create your own stamps and you can go up to tools, stamps, and then down here you can create a stamp or you can import stamps that someone else has maybe sent you, or if you created one in some other program and you wanted to import it into here. So with that being said, my stamp that I created, I'll put it down right here to show you, and this can be tailored to any company, but what it does is, in order to cover my ass and make sure that I don't give someone a markup and they alter something or they start installing it based on my markup, even though this is not an approved set of construction documents. I don't want to be held responsible and get issued a change order later because some electrical contractor or someone started roughing all these boxes in and wire based on my markups for my takeoff and things changed after the drawings were approved. So this stamp lets my customer know that this is a markup only. It's not for construction. It's got my company name. And then it's got the date and time that this stamp was placed on the drawing. So it's more of a CYA thing. I highly recommend anybody does this if they're using these markups to send out of their office to be a resource to another contractor. If you do put all this stuff on your drawings as another layer of security, I always recommend flattening the document. This serves 2 purposes. One is if you take the time to create your own toolkits like this and stamps and you go through all this hard work to do this. It's taken me a long time to make these. If you do that and put them on the drawing and you don't flatten it, if I send this drawing to one of you guys and you had Bluebeam, you could easily right click on any of my toolkits and you could add them to a tool chest. So I don't want to share my toolkits with any of the contractors I work with. And let's face it, sometimes your customers will send your markups to a competing contractor. And the last thing you want is for your information to get out to them for them to use against you. So one reason I flatten it is that for my own protection. And the other reason is another form of protection. And that is if I do send my markup to a customer and even though I put this stamp on here, if they accidentally, if they have Bluebeam and they click and drag something out of the way or move something from what I sent them originally, they could interpret that as my design. And I don't want that. I want them to get what I originally put together and only that. I don't want it to ever be altered. So by flattening it, I am locking that drawing up. I'm basically turning all my symbols and templates into permanent ink, and they cannot move things, edit them, delete them, add to them, or anything. And that way, if anything ever comes down, push comes to shove, I can say, this is the document I sent you, and I feel very comfortable that it has not been edited since I sent it to you. To flatten a document, it's very simple. You have your document open, you come up here to the weight, you click on flatten, the flatten icon. It brings up this menu here. The first time you ever open this box will probably be checked, and you do not want this checked, because if they have Bluebeam and you send it to them, they could just basically come into the same options and unflatten the document right here. By unchecking this, you are not allowing that. It's pretty common sense right here. Allow markup recovery, unflatten. You do not want to allow that. So make sure that box is unchecked and click flatten here. Once you do that, you'll see a little load screen come up, and it's basically compressing the document into one flat layer, and you're done. What I do after that is I always save as, and I add the word flat at the end of my document, because I want to make sure that I can keep track of, in my personal folders, my markup that I can still edit and change and alter, and then the flattened one that I'm sending to my client. Okay, so that's very important. Just make sure you do not forget that step, because you're going to be really upset when somebody else gets a hold of your hard work and can use it. Real quick, some other things to touch on. If you want to type on a document, there's a lot of shortcuts you can learn in Bluebeam. If you guys are interested, let me put this out there real quick too. If you guys are interested in any of my toolkits or the profile that I've set up, leave a comment in the comment section, or email me, or join our Facebook group, Fire Alarms Online for NICET, and visit our website to get a hold of me. And I'm gonna start I'm gonna put these toolkits up for sale. I know they prove very valuable to everyone that I've used them with so far. People swear by them. It's got everything you need covered. So to save you guys a ton of time, you could just use these same units that I have, or I could explain to you how to make them from scratch if you choose. So feel free to reach out to me if you're interested in that. I've also got a Bluebeam book that has a lot of shortcuts in it. It's directly from Bluebeam, so you could probably acquire it on the internet if you want as well, or just get it from me, whatever is easier. But what it does explain, if you kind of highlight, if you hover over any of these icons up here, they all have shortcuts. Like this is Control-Shift-M. The highlighter is H, and the cloud plus is K. So once you start learning some of these shortcuts, it's a lot faster to go on your keyboard and hit M for measurement, or H for highlighter, Control F for search, instead of trying to move your mouse around and selecting all these icons. And that document that I have basically breaks all those down and kind of shares how you can acquire and access a lot of these things with shortcuts. With that being said, if you want to type on something, it's W for typewriter. I don't know why they use W, but that brings it up, and you can just, type on here. And again, once you've typed on here like that, you can right click. And like we talked about earlier, if you do go to properties here, the properties section here is all tailored to the text. So it's a different properties menu than it would be if you're trying to edit, let's say a box or a cloud or something like that. So you can come in here and edit all your text and the background. Right now we have their background fill color is clear. You can make it yellow. You can do anything you want. And so I can say, I can sit there and make this yellow behind it, and I can make the text green. I can bold it, italicize it, underline it, center it, whatever you want. And the nice thing to know here is keep this in mind when you get ready to set up your Bluebeam is, if you like your text a specific way, or your call outs, your clouds, if you want your clouds to be blue instead of red or thicker, whatever, whenever you're editing any kind of properties here, always go down to the bottom and set it as your default right here. Once you do that, every time you open Bluebeam, if I hit W in typewriter, it's going to come up with red text and a yellow background. as opposed to just the standard clear background with red text. Or I can make, like I said, it blue or centered, whatever you do, and you like it that way for your own personal preference and you want to keep it that way, set it as a default right here in properties. And then you don't have to worry about doing that every time. For example, I like my cloud with call out. I'll show you. I have this set up as a certain way. Man, this thing is really running slow. So if I go to my cloud right there is blue. And then when I bring my call out over here, you'll see that it has a yellow background. And I can just type in here, test with black lettering. So this is something that I set as my default standard that I like, with the blue cloud, the red call out line, yellow background pops really hard off the drawing with the black text. It's just easy to see. And then like my regular cloud, I just left it defaulted at red, right? I don't want to mess with that. I don't use cloud as much. Typically when I'm doing a markup and I'm clouding something, I want to have a reason I'm clouding it. So I have a call out that I'm putting next to it. So I use the blue call out with the yellow text box a lot more than I just use a red cloud. But again, you can do it any way you want. And that goes for everything up here. You can set your default highlighter colors and how thick the highlighter is and everything. I want to tell you too about images. Just like anything else, you can insert an image into Bluebeam, like a Word document or anything else. Just keep in mind that if you start inserting images all over this drawing, like let's say from a job walk, you wanted to reference ceiling types and wall types and anything else, maybe an existing fire alarm control unit, you take a picture of it and you put a call out to the electric room of where it is so you have a reference of what it was and how it was laid out. Every time you add an image onto this document, not only are you convoluting the space to work with in here, but you're also making this file size a lot larger. So now it gets harder to email it between people, and it makes it slower to work in, especially when you have 25 whatever pages of floor plans with images and markups. So what I like to tell people is you can embed images into Bluebeam. So what that means is, let's say we've got this horn strobe in the corridor down here, and I was at the job walk and I wanted to reference a crazy ceiling configuration they have that I need to let my PM know, hey, we got to cut this metal ceiling or we got to sub it out, whatever it may be. You can right click on your symbol for the item that you want to embed the image on. You come over to capture and you can capture an image from the camera on your device or from a file. So let's say maybe you took a bunch of pictures in the field with your iPhone or whatever, and you came back and saved those on your computer. You could then put them onto you can embed them into your Bluebeam markup at a later time. But if you're at a job site with your laptop, like for example, I use a Surface Pro. It has a camera built into it. It has a stylus. It's a very good tool to use with Bluebeam. So for this example, I am going to just turn the camera on right here. So I'm going to embed an image, capture from camera. And you'll see what happens here. It might take a second. Again, my computer's running slow. It'll bring up the camera function here. And this is just going to bring up, my docking station behind my computer at my desk. And for this example, I will snap a picture of that. And if you're in the field and you don't like it, you can retake it or you can use it. When you use it, you can add more, you can add all kinds of stuff. You can have a bunch of pictures and you can scroll through them with the left and right arrows here, but I'll go ahead and click out to show you what this does. By embedding an image, you'll see there's a little camera icon here next to that horn strobe now. And as you zoom out, that icon gets bigger. So it's very easy to see that you have embedded images all over your drawing that can reference important information for somebody after the fact with your markups. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom back in, and I'm going to show you that if I double click on this, hopefully it'll open quick with the lag I've got going on right now. There you go. That anytime later, you can double click on that little embedded image and bring up multiple pictures or whatever you have referencing to that device type. So this is a much better way to put images into your markup as opposed to just pasting images and resizing them and dragging them all over the top of your drawings. As you can imagine, when you've got 15 pictures for a floor plan, you're competing for space now on that floor plan with all your markups. So I highly recommend using this embedded feature. I want to mention too another thing real quick that this is the hyperlink tool. This is a great tool, more for like NFPA 72 again. This is another way to quickly jump between sections of a PDF. And what you can do here is you open up this menu and you can, let's say, highlight this phone jack right here. Now, what you're doing by highlighting that phone jack is you're making that a button. And what you're going to tell it here in the settings is when I click on that button, where do you want me to go in the drawing? So as you can imagine, like in an NFPA 72 book, you can have a section that references the annex, and instead of having to go back and try to find the annex and what page was it on, you could do that ahead of time, find out the page, reference it, and then set up a button so that when you click on that section of code in NFPA 72, it'll automatically, once you click on it, jump you to the back and the annex to that specific section that gives you more information about that code segment. So in here, as you can imagine, you can jump to certain pages, places. You can do a snapshot view, which is where I can go to a different page and create, like, I don't know, an area of a floor plan that I want to capture. So if you click on that, it'll take you right to that floor plan and zero in on that specific section of the floor plan. So this is a really good tool. It's kind of time consuming. It just really goes a little bit beyond doing your typical markup. It's more, like I said, for investing the time in up front for things that you're going to be using long term, like code and standards and things like that. But it's a great tool to take advantage of to help speed up your life at a later time if you put the time into it up front. I think that pretty much covers everything I wanted to talk about in this 30,000 foot view, just trying to do a scratch the surface. I mainly just wanted to get it out there that I could prove to be a valuable resource for you guys. I mean, it's just another layer of benefits that firealarmsonline.com can bring to you guys. So when you're on our website, I'm going to try to post up some links on there referencing this video, as well as how you could acquire my toolkits and profile if you're interested. And as always, if you have any questions, please feel to reach out, drop a note in the comments. And I appreciate you guys spending the time going over Bluebeam with me. I look forward to hearing from you in the near future. Thanks a lot.